Hello there. I wanted to talk about the film The Matrix. I had mentioned it before as a important, I think, event in culture. And again, I don't think we can really underestimate just how important The Matrix is to our continual immersion into understanding reality on a more sophisticated ontological level than we've had in the past. When something like The Matrix or Star Wars or any of these major cultural events in the arts and in cinema and in pop culture occur, the important thing is to step back and not just see it as the product of a Hollywood producer and writers and directors that happens to be successful. Obviously it's that. But when you step back and things that really have a lasting impression, there is a divine necessity to it. It's being selected by the dynamics of the culture on a very deep level, on a level in which the subterranean impulses of the culture are being articulated. And in the case of The Matrix, I think what we're actually given is delivered to the public. I mean, a kind of philosophy 101 for metaphysics and epistemology and just even a re-articulation of the old story of Plato's cave. The Matrix is preparing us for something. You see, The Matrix is a great way for people to just understand immediately why our vision of reality, that the spatiotemporal model, material model, is wrong. Because, for example, all you need to say is that, a scientist looking through a telescope at a far-off quasar in the real world, to show the absurdity of how that might not be the best way to see reality. All you have to do is use the metaphor, well, what is the scientist doing in the Matrix? He thinks he's looking at a quasar, but it's really just the Matrix. The Matrix allows you to step outside the box in order to begin to comprehend a deeper level and both deeper and more objective level of reality. And of course they do this in the movie The Matrix through the plot device of the machines who have taken over humanity and then have enslaved humanity as batteries in a kind of, pod-like, nightmarish, inferno-like, techno-inferno world. That's just flimflammery in a way to justify the plot. You really, the most important idea is that reality is essentially a kind of code that exists only as a plenum and of meaning within the minds that inhabit the reality. You see, that's the big idea behind The Matrix, is that the world is actually made of bits. Not only that the world's made of bits, but that they're instantiated through the minds themselves. And that the whole world that we negotiate through, the whole world that we maneuver through, is a maneuvering through each other's perceptual experience of this digital realm. And modern physics is agreeing with the basic vision of The Matrix. Modern physics is essentially discovering facts about reality that imply that it is much more like The Matrix. Information theory as an overarching concept. They're discovering Shannon information codes in physics equations. Digital correction codes in physics equations. The holographic principle. I mean, the holographic principle says the world is the Matrix. It says reality is a projection from a two-dimensional scrambled information zone. Well, where does that exist? It exists nowhere. It's right here. It's behind. It's what Neo sees in the Matrix behind the world at the end. And there's no denying that the Matrix comes with a Christian allegory at the very heart of it. Mr. Anderson is Christ, obviously, in the story. I mean, he is the figure who busts out of the world to save it. And he literally, at the end of the first film, he dies in a way. He dies and only can be raised again through the love of Trinity. I mean, the naming of the characters is not exactly subtle. Can only be allowed to actually finally conquer the Matrix through the love of the Trinity. This is all in the movie. It's all deliberate on the filmmaker's part, obviously. They're very sophisticated, very smart, and know what they're doing. But on another level, they were guided by the hand of God. We have to start being able to think like this, because reality is more like this. And because reality is more like this, the Matrix has been given to us as a communication device that even just Joe Blow can really understand the metaphysics of the Matrix. It's not that hard. And if you want to get sophisticated about it, you can read something like David Chalmers' article, The Matrix as Metaphysics, which really teases out all the little metaphysical puzzles that are implied by the Matrix, and really proves quite literally that the Matrix world is not real. It's not that it's fake. It's that it's digital. The one thing we might have to get over with the Matrix is the idea that in order for it to be a digital virtual realm of reality, you need then the real reality that the machines actually live in, the real Earth that once existed. But that's the one thing you have to really get over. It's that it's virtual all the way down. You know, it's a hologram all the way down. And the machines, which actually generate the reality, is actually God. And indeed, the machines are God, structurally in the Matrix story. With, especially in part 2, the architect is obviously a God the Father figure. The Oracle is a kind of holy, you could say is a kind of Holy Spirit figure. Or at the very least, a figure of an intuitive indeterminacy at the core of the Matrix, which would also be at the core of reality. They function essentially, especially as the story goes on, as obviously God, with Neo as the Son of God, sent to save the world through his sacrifice. The Matrix is an extremely effective film. The Matrix is a movie that nailed its aesthetic design, its aesthetic touchstones extremely well. All of them, both as a philosophical project, and then just as an exciting action movie, and then as just a visual experience. Everything came together in the Matrix to do something that just leached on to the mental apparatus of a whole generation of young people, and more than any film maybe ever has influenced philosophical debate and topics, has influenced an actual communication about these ideas in philosophy. And that's been an astounding thing and to watch, and there is a reason for it. It's because the truth of the real Matrix is becoming revealed. And the truth of the real Matrix is something that will require us to all feel like Neo, I think, a bit, as we follow the white rabbit down the rabbit hole. The Matrix is an event in human consciousness. It is a premonition at the dawn of the new millennium for the journey that the 21st century had ahead. It anticipated the digital totality that now is our lives. I mean, it starts to be more likely the Matrix, just as society becomes obviously more and more digitally determined. And the digital realm itself starts to feel more and more real, and then one starts to wonder, to what extent is it all digital? All the way down. We live in a world of zeros and ones now, and it's no longer a out-of-the-box idea to then speculate about the meaning of that for a deeper metaphysical vision of what's going on. If you haven't seen The Matrix, which I'm assuming if you're watching this you probably have, but watch it again with the eyes of a metaphysician, and watch it again with the eyes of a theologian. There's a lot to talk about there. And the films get more and more philosophically rococo, even as they get structurally weaker, really, as storytelling to a certain extent. But all of them are unafraid to play in a philosophical playground, really, that most films don't even dare try. Breaking out of the Matrix is a mental act of the will to take the red pill and to then see what's really there. All right, guys. Thanks.